Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. I splurged this morning and got a McDonald's coffee, so hope you've got your cup of coffee and join me. I normally have just a regular cup of coffee here with you, and I saw a sign one time that I think it was one of our church members that put it up in our old kitchen that said a whole lot of Jesus and a little bit of coffee will get me through the day. And so I'm kind of that thing. And we've been looking at the creation story. We started with Genesis 1, and I've decided to start, at least do the first 11 chapters of Genesis as we began on our study this year and our devotionals in the morning, our Coffee with the Pastor time. And we've gotten through the 6 days. God has made the world. He's ordered it. He's created it. He's ordered it. Now we get to the 7th day, and this is in chapter 2, Genesis chapter 2. It says, "Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the 7th day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done." God had created the world. It was good. If he created humanity, he looked and said, "Hey, this is very good." And he's done it. And so then he's going to create the 7th day. And the 7th day, he rested. He stopped the creation of the world. I have a belief, and I think there's some other scholars who strongly agree with me, that the 7th day literally was where we were supposed to be living as humanity. That we were to live at rest, and at rest meant that our time and our thoughts were to be spent in fellowship with God. That's why God created this whole world. He wanted a family. He wanted to have fellowship with humanity. He made us to have fellowship with us. And that's why he put us in the garden. And we're going to read more about that later. And one of the reasons why I think that is that, notice after man falls, and we'll talk about that later in Genesis chapter 3, what's the one penalty that happens? He's got to go to work. Before, he could just go and pick fruit, pick the vegetables, and it was just, he didn't have to do any work. But after the fall, God says, okay, now you've got to toil, you've got to work. And so I think that was part of the thing that was given up. But the 7th day being at rest. I remember the first time I went to the Holy Land, I went with my son's doctoral class, and we got there early on Saturday morning, which is in Jewish land, in Israel, it would have been the Sabbath. Their Sabbath starts sundown Friday, goes to sundown Saturday. And we flew in, and they took us right off the plane, put us on a bus, and we started touring. We went and toured where Elijah had been, and we came back to the hotel, and there's nobody around. I mean, this is right there on the Mediterranean Sea. It's beautiful. We've got beaches there, and I'm thinking, nobody's here. And then the sun went down, and the Sabbath was over, and that place just crowded, and there was people everywhere around there. And so it was quite an experience, and it was an experience for me. I've been several times to Holy Land now, and on the Sabbath, in the hotels where we're at, there's usually some Jewish folks staying there, and they will celebrate the Sabbath, and they will do their traditions there. And I always enjoy watching families as they do the practices of Sabbath. The hotel's also the best meal you'll have of the week is the Sabbath meal. They look forward to having a very good Sabbath meal on Friday night, and so they make a big deal out of it. I spent the whole week on talking about Sabbath rest when I was talking about uh, spiritual practices that we need to for our spiritual formation. I very much believe that we need to practice a Sabbath. If you don't practice a Sabbath, I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to take a day. Could be Sunday. The Jewish folks took Friday night. Their Sabbath was Friday night sundown to Saturday sundown. Maybe you want to take Saturday. Obviously, I try and take Saturday when I can. Sometimes things come up on Saturday. But most of the time I try and take my Sabbath on Saturday. But my encouragement to you is to have a day that you spend resting, relaxing, doing something that will relax you, and spending time with God. The early Christians changed the days. There was such a schism between the Jews that they even changed their fast days. The Jews fasted on Monday and Thursday, so the early Christians fasted on Wednesday and Friday. When the Christians got kicked out of the synagogues, they started worshiping on Sunday instead of Saturday, and so there's been a change. I don't really think it's as big a deal what day it is as that you do one, that you have a day that's dedicated to resting, to putting away the world's cares and all the worries that we have, and spending some time with God and coming at rest. When the Israelites were in Egyptian bondage, the one thing that Moses asked for was, we want a day to go and worship God. And we want a day off. And the Pharaoh said, you don't need a day off. And he basically called them lazy and wanted them to work 7 days a week. Well, God didn't make us to work 7 days a week. He made us to work 6 and to rest 1. And if you don't do that, it will catch up to you. That's just how God created his creation and everything else. It needs rest. We need rest. And I encourage you to take a day of rest. I don't know about you, and I'm sure you're the same way as me. I've been very disturbed by things that have been happening in our world. This past summer, I was dismayed that those on the fringe left were allowed to loot and burn our cities. I was very discouraged this past week when the fringe on the right attacked the Capitol and interrupted Congress and destroyed our Capitol building. That disturbs me. I'm disturbed about our leaders. I'm disturbed that, truthfully, we didn't hear much out of the Democrats about the fringe left this summer. I'm disturbed that our president this week encouraged people to go down to the Capitol and had that rally where they went down to and kind of incited them to go do that. I'm discouraged that after that happened, that our president-elect Joe Biden got up and really divided the country more by just kind of calling anybody that supported Trump, a thug and like this. I'm discouraged that, they're talking about trying to impeach the president when he's got 14 days left. That's discouraging me. And I'll be honest with you, this doesn't make me very proud to be an American. It really doesn't. But I have good news. I serve King Jesus. And I've been proud of my country. I'm sure that I will get there again. I'm sure I'll get over this someday, and I'll remember the great things about our country. And I still am appreciative of our country, our freedoms, my freedom to worship, my freedom to do this program every morning. I have friends in China and Indonesia and other places that I know personally who would love to be able to do what I'm doing and can't, and all. But and I have that appreciation. But right now, I'm not very proud about it. But I need a break. I need to turn off the news. I need to get with God. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here in a minute or two. I'm going to stop this video, and I always do my prayer time after the video. And I'm here at my office today, and we're closed on Fridays, so I can get more done on Fridays than any other day because nobody else is here. But every day when I stop the video, I pray. And I take my concerns to God. I will take my concerns for my country to God. We'll put them in His hands. And I can't tell you, after I do my prayer time, and I pray the Lord's Prayer, I pray the 23rd Psalm, I pray the 103rd Psalm, I pray for my family, I pray for needs in the church, I pray for me to be Spirit-filled and to have the fruit of the Spirit. I pray all those things. But during that prayer time, there's a rest that comes upon me. There's a peace that comes upon me during that prayer. And I can't explain. And I believe I get a little Sabbath every day. And I think it's good to take a day where maybe you don't watch the news or get on social media or anything for a whole day. You just do things that are going to relax you. And things that cause you anxiety, things that get you mad, which if I watch the news much, I get mad. Cut those out for the day. Just don't do them. Just put your trust in God, because that's the only place that you really ought to be putting your trust. And enjoy the Sabbath rest. Jesus said, "You are weary and heavy laden. Come unto me and I will give you rest." Rest is huge. Having a Sabbath rest, we all need. It's how we were wired. We're not wired to continually be under strain and stress and work and toil. We're wired to take a break from that and to renew our relationship with God and our fellowship with God and rest in Him. I encourage you to take a day and rest in Him. Well, I hope to see many of you Sunday, and we'll continue Genesis next week. Genesis 2, we'll talk about Adam and Eve, how they were created, and we'll get into probably the fall next week, how they fell from the Garden of Eden. And so I look forward to it, and I'll see you next week.